Welcome to the Red Dice Diaries. This podcast is a rambling journey through the wonderful world of RPGs from the viewpoint of a long-time GM and player. The music at the start of this podcast was Nightmare by Alexander Nakarada and is used under Creative Commons license. Okay, so for this episode, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some books that I've bought recently. This isn't in the way of a full review, it's just me chatting a bit about them, although I probably will give my opinion of the books because we're on the internet, and like the next person on the internet, I love to spout my opinions about things. So this podcast is going to be about the 4 BX Essentials books I've recently purchased from Necrotic Gnome Productions, and those are the Core Rules, Classes and Equipment, Cleric and Magic User Spells, and Monsters. And also the Table Fables book, which I bought after hearing about it on the Spike Pit Collins podcast. Give that a listen. It's a collection of tables for the Weary Games Master by Madeline Hale. And essentially it's a big book of random tables. Okay, so to kick things off, let's have a look at BX Essentials. And effectively, well, he's trying to create a faithful reproduction of the old D&D BX rules, accepting some minor tweaks in layout and trying to resolve ambiguities where they present themselves. And I think by and large he's done an excellent job at this. I mean, they're split. Currently the main set is split into 4 books. I think there's a 5th, which is Adventures and Treasures, on its way. And the whole idea behind this is that these books are modular. So if I want, and it's all covered by the Open Games license. So if I wanted to write, say, an alternative set of character classes, I could publish those in a book. People could pick up the core book, pick up the alternate classes book, and there you go. You only have to take the books that you actually want. And like I say, I think by and large this is an excellent reproduction of it. Yeah, it uses things like THAC0, which I never had a real problem with, although I don't find it as intuitive as Ascending Armor class, but I know some people aren't a fan of. But it is, as far as I'm aware, an accurate recreation of the BX rules. It's presented in the American Digest size, so like 6 by 9 inch, which I'm a great fan of. This sort of just slightly larger than pocket size, but easily portable size. The layout is 2 column. It's done in a nice clear font. There's plenty of tables in there. So I'm just looking at the core rules now, and straight away, as soon as you get to page 5, there's an ability score adjustment set of tables. They're all done in a nice sort of muted green tones, which I believe are carried on throughout the rest of the book. Yes, they are. I've just checked that. The artwork is all black and white and has that nice old school feel to it. And if you've played the old BX Dungeons and Dragons, this will be pretty much as you remembered it, but in a slightly more modern layout, very cleanly produced and easily portable, which I think if you want to run some of the original style of D&D, you couldn't really ask for much more. And these are available quite reasonably from Drive-Thru-RPG, either as print copies. I've got 4 of these stapled print copies. I went for the slightly more expensive paper, just because, you know, books tend to come in for a little bit of wear and tear when they're going on and off the shelf, so I generally try and splash out on the better quality paper if I can do. Really great books, highly recommend them if you want to get that BX flavour, but with a slightly more easy to reference and laid out fashion. One of the things I particularly like is the books all have quite a detailed contents page in there, which tells you everything you want to know, but instead of just not putting an index in because it's not really needed, the author has put an index of tables at the back of it, which is very useful during play. So for instance, in the Classes and Equipment book, if I just flick straight to the back, I can immediately see that if I want to find a table of player character languages, I can turn to page 21 and boom, there we are. It's a D20 table of player character languages. No messing about, all very easy to reference, and because the books are so clearly split up, as I say, it's core rules, classes and equipment, cleric and magic user spells, and monsters. It's easy to find which of the books you need to reference, and then the contents page and the index of tables do a great job of allowing you to find things quickly and easily in the books. I think the author of the book, Gavin Norman, has done an excellent job in updating the sort of look and the layout of the rules while still remaining faithful to the spirit and the rules of BX D&D. So if you're down for a bit of old school D&D flavour, I highly recommend you check them out. Like I say, they're not very expensive, and they really are a nice set of books. Now I'm just going to be waiting on tenterhooks until the Adventures and Treasures book comes out, and I'll be looking to get that. And I believe there are some additional optional sort of like individual campaign flavour books planned out, and some other stuff like introducing more advanced classes like the Druid and stuff like that. So I'll probably be keeping an eye out for those as well. So now we go on to Table Fables, a collection of tables for the Weary Games Master by Madeline Hale, as I've said. And this literally is just a huge book of random tables, and it covers everything from different items, knickknacks, magic items, scavenged items, books, potions, rods, to character backgrounds, to weather, dungeon settings, magical rituals, diseases, nightmares. Hell, there's even a dice roll table in here to simulate drawing a card from a playing card deck if for some reason you would need that. And as you know from my podcast, I'm a huge fan of random tables, and I think this book certainly has a lot to offer in that regard. Again, it's £10 GBP or something like that from Amazon. I picked up a copy after seeing it on Colin's The Spike Pit podcast, and it really is a very useful book. I can't wait to break out some of these tables in my games. And in fact, I'm just going to roll on a couple of them now just to like give you a flavour of what there are. I've randomly flicked to a page. Let's see. Okay, food. Okay, so there's a D4 quality table, which is like fantastic, good, mediocre, and disgusting. I'm not going to worry too much about that. But let's say my characters stroll into a tavern and they ask for some breakfast. I can just roll a D20, 17, which tells me that caramelized nuts are the breakfast of choice in this tavern. What are they serving at lunch on that table? With a 13, they're serving a hot beef sandwich. And there's other things like beverages. So black tea is number 9, and spices, number 10 being pepper. There's just a whole, and these might sound a little bit incidental, but there's, as I've said before, the strength of random tables is spurring your imagination. And there is loads of stuff in here, from the taste of potions to the colour of magic items and the specifics of magic rituals. So if you're looking for something to spur your imagination and just to save you answering that often difficult question where the players are like, oh, what's in that guy's pocket? Are we going to search that dead body or whatever? Pick yourself up a copy of the Table Fables. I think it's a really nifty little book. Again, very portable, and I can easily see myself toting this around to conventions as a quick and simple idea generator. So that's it for this episode. If you have any questions or suggestions for things you'd like to see in the podcast in future, please either email them to reddicediaries@gmail.com or drop me a voicemail at Anchor. Until I see you next time, wherever you're playing, take care and enjoy yourselves.